Well, it could get a little dark. I think part of it was I had a very rough childhood, and I decided at a very young age that I was going to have to do something myself in order to get myself out of the situation that we were in. I just didn't want to be a victim. I was suicidal around the age of 12 just because of all the abuse and circumstances that was going on within my house. But that's how we treat mental health. Your brain literally tells your entire body how to function, how to do anything, to talk, to sleep, it moves your heart. Like your brain is so important. It's such an important physical part of your body. Why wouldn't you treat it with the same sensitivities and honor it the same way you would anything else in your body? Yeah. I mean, obviously I've worked with some of the biggest names in the business, from Skip, from Shannon, from Colin, and really everyone that I've worked with at Fox, Nick Wright. Consistency is the connecting fiber through really anyone who accomplishes anything great, because it doesn't happen by accident.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. If you are here, subscribe, like, comment, turn your post notifications on. As always, this episode is brought to you by Evermore Alkaline Water.
Delicious.
Cousin has his right there. Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with one of the biggest personalities in TV, sports opinionist, Joy Taylor. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. It means a lot. It means a lot. We're having a funny one with you today. We were a little nervous about sending you the location because it's on, Crenshaw Boulevard and Inglewood Avenue.
Well, I mean, you got an LA hat on.
Yeah.
You know, I know my way around my city. I'm good.
Let's go.
I'm welcome anywhere.
Let's go.
I'm good everywhere here.
Let's go. Appreciate you coming on. How you feeling?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we wanted to open up with just really what inspired you to get into speaking and radio and you know, because a lot of people, you know, some people are shy, they don't like to put their opinions out there, and for you it seemed like this is what you wanted to do. So like what inspired you to pursue this?
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I don't know if you've spent any time there, but you guys have spent time in a city that has great sports fans, and Pittsburgh is one of those places. And I grew up around women's sports fans. If you are from Pittsburgh, it's sort of like a cult, and you are assigned to the Steelers. You're assigned to the Penguins, to the Pirates. Like sports is just a part of life there. And my grandmothers and my aunts were big Steelers fans. And so if I'm at my grandmother's house and the game is on, any game really is on, whatever we're watching is getting turned off, the game is on. If they lose, they're upset, they have opinions, they have thoughts, they know all the players, they don't like the coach, they don't like this, whatever. So it was never odd to me to be a woman that had an opinion about sports, played sports growing up. Obviously I have brothers. Pittsburgh is a very blue-collar, matter-of-fact place. So I think my formative years were just around really opinionated, strong women that also cared about sports. So it was never really odd to me to have an opinion about sports or a team or a coach or a player or what was happening or a story. And I actually found it a bit odd when people would ask me that when I started out. I was like, this has never been weird to me. This is new for you, but this isn't new to me. So I always had that in me. And then when I got into college and really started studying broadcasting, I also paid attention to where the industry was going. And news and sports were becoming the last things that we were watching live. And now it is the last thing that we watch live is sports and any kind of breaking news or event or, a tragedy, something like that, where we need to get instant information. But everything else we get on our phone. We don't need to sit in front of the TV to watch SportsCenter. We don't have to wait till the next day and read the paper to get the statistics. So the world changed, and news and sports were trending in that direction. And I always wanted to give my opinion. I wasn't interested in being a reporter or covering a team from that perspective or doing sidelines. So I wanted to really put myself in a position to develop the ability not only to have an opinion, but to show people in the industry that I could do that, because there really weren't a lot of women in that space at all. So radio was a great place to start, because this didn't exist at the time when it's been a while since I've been in college. And this didn't exist. If you wanted to do long form opinion or long form sports talk, radio was really the place that you went to do that. There really weren't podcasts. There wasn't streaming. There's no YouTube. There was no IG Live or Twitter Spaces. Like, you got into radio. Or you had a network show like Cold Pizza or Around the Horn or, PTI, which was obviously like 6 jobs. So that's why I got into the radio side.
Wow.
Yeah. And then from when you started, I mean, how long was the grind? Like, you started right after college?
So I started interning in college.
Okay.
My first internship was at 560 WQAM in Miami with the Joe Rose morning show. So I was going to school in Miami, spending the time that I spent on South Beach at the time, interning, working, and that was a morning show. So at that time, everyone's morning show started at 6 a.m. So I did an internship, which was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days a week there. For a semester. And then after I finished that internship, I did an internship with the DJ Lads morning show, which was an entertainment and music morning show in Miami, but it was in the same building. So I got a really great background on producing, on booking guests, on coming up with topics, creating rundowns, coming up with creative ideas for the show, getting coffee, getting copies, just doing everything that went into making a show. And it was a wonderful start for me, because not only did I get to deal with big personalities, but I also learned how to put together an entertainment show and a sports show. And now, as we all know, those worlds merge completely. Now more than they ever have before. They were always intertwined, but now it's just the same thing.
It's very weird, because now that we're learning about like algorithms and titles and getting clicks, like I never really understood why like you go on and you watch Stephen A. Smith have like a meltdown on the air, and I realized like just how entertainment-y everything is, which is crazy. You know, like we have to like. There's for us, like we have to thumbnail something a certain way for people to even click on the video, you know. Now, what made you when you first started, did it feel authentic?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the goal is always to be authentic, right? Or as close to authentic as you can be while doing your job, meaning not getting fired.
Right.
But you're always in spaces in the business where it feels like you can't do that when you're starting out. And then particularly being a woman in that space, and then being a Black woman in that space, you're met with a bunch of different pressures for how you're supposed to talk or act or show up. And I think authenticity and the pursuit of authenticity is I want to say the most important thing, because there's so much that's important, but it's incredibly important to success, because any young person that I talk to in the business, or anyone really who's trying to find their way through the business, what makes you you is what will make you you. No one else is like you. You might be similar to someone else. You might have the same background as someone else. You might have the same skin color as someone else. You can have all these things that are similar, but the special is you. And if you try to be someone else, you're just a lesser version of them. So it's not that you can't learn from people who do great things, that you can't study, you know, their habits, or, you know, get put on to this computer system or this algorithm trend or this food plan. Like, there's things you can learn, but you should always do it in your own authentic way, because that's the only way you'll ever cut through.
That was because I was a huge fan. Like, honestly, when you were on the Herd, like, that was my day. It was I work 5 a.m. to 9, I get my lift in, and I'm back at 12. I'm eating my lunch, and I'm watching you and Colin. And like, from obviously watching over the years, it was like, that was one thing about you that always stuck out to me. It was like, it always was like, you talked and gave your opinion exactly how you feel. Like, you didn't try to sugarcoat anything, whether it disagreed with Colin or it didn't. Like, you said how you were going to feel, and it didn't matter. It didn't seem like you tried to change who you were ever. And that's why I was always a big fan of you, like just watching you on Fox Sports and stuff like that. So was that ever hard for you, obviously being a woman in a male-dominated industry, where I know he said, like, you know, did it feel authentic? But like, was there ever moments where you felt uncomfortable in those, or were you always you in like that? Because obviously dealing with huge personalities like Colin, Skip, Shannon, and all them. Like, what was that like?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's been plenty of moments where I've been straight up told not to be myself and dial it back, or they're not going to receive that well, or you know, you're showing up too much as this, or you're giving too much of that. And that's very discouraging. And it also puts you in a place where you have to choose between what you would naturally or authentically do and what might, mess up your money or your future or, mess up this relationship. That there's all these things to consider. So I don't want to sit here and act like, fuck everybody,
right.
Do me. Like that's not real in a corporate space, and certainly not at the network level. But you always have to hold on to what got you there and like what you believe in and what is actually going to resonate with people. And that's why I say like the pursuit of your authenticity is important. No, you can't walk in and bulldoze any kind of situation, especially when you're at the bottom of the the ladder. But sure, like there's definitely been moments like that, but I think the most impactful are when you do show up as yourself, or you do put your foot down, or you do draw this boundary, or you do defy those requests, and then it's received well. Then it's like, okay, so maybe just trust me. Like I got this. Like they're going to be okay being around me. They're going to find a way to be comfortable and deal with me. And it is something that, honestly speaking, a lot of the big personalities as men don't deal with, because they're supposed to be this way, and they're supposed to have bravado, and they're supposed to be edgy, and there's an assumption that I'm supposed to be a little, more put together and calm everyone down, and I'm supposed to say the right thing, and I'm supposed to, and not that I don't do that in certain situations, because I do, but there's some situations where I am the troublemaker. So like I have to be able to be, the duality that I am naturally. And I think, and I'm grateful that people see that and receive that from me, because I think everybody is. You're not always, sweet and polite. Sometimes you gotta be about that action, and like that's what everyone is in some way. So I believe that you can't fool the audience. Truly, when you're doing a daily show specifically, because people consume you day in and day out, they remember things that you say and sort of absorb your personality. So if you're not authentic, if you're putting out some sort of image or character that you think people are going to want from you, but it's not really you, they'll eventually see through it, or you're just going to crack, because it's like lying all the time. Like eventually, like, damn, what did I say? I said I was there, but you know what I mean? What time was it? Did they have my location? All that stuff. I don't do that, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's too much to keep up with.
Yeah. I saw you say that you felt you had to work twice as hard to get half the opportunity, and thinking about that, like, I wanted to almost rewind a little bit to your childhood of where that work ethic stemmed. I know you're from Pittsburgh. It's a blue collar state, and and it's all work ethic, work hard. Where did that stem from as a child? Like, what was your upbringing like to be able to persevere through having to get to where you are?
Well, it could get a little dark, but I think part of it was I had a very rough childhood, and I decided at a very young age that I was going to have to do something myself in order to get myself out of the situation that we were in. So I just didn't want to be a victim. And I was suicidal around the age of 12 just because of all the abuse and circumstances that was going on within my house. And I just sort of there was no therapy, or like, you're not gonna like talk about your feelings, things like that was not available at that time. It was all just something I had to sort through myself. And I knew that I wasn't going to get any sort of help or handout or support if I wanted to do something with my life, or if I wanted to get out of this situation. And the people around me, not entirely, but sort of created an environment where it was like, you're kind of gonna have to be here. So I think part of that experience of growing up in a state of survival and desperation was just formatively put me in a space and mentality of like, I'm gonna have to overcome whatever it is that's put in front of me in order to accomplish that. And that's carried with me throughout my life. It's not that I think that people aren't victims, because absolutely there is real victimhood in the world, and I was too, but I just didn't want that to define me.
Yeah. I'm very interested in hearing about how you're able to overcome suicidal thoughts at 12 years old, because that takes a tremendous amount. Well, not only strength, but God coming into your life, if you believe in God, or just some type of major event, people coming into your life, something to where you begin to turn things around. Because so we're at Camino College. I played here. I had a very funny upbringing. I was just a good-looking Italian kid from New York, where all I cared about was just having fun and being popular. And then essentially what ended up happening was senior year rolled around. I got fat from all the Bud Lights, and I got fat from all the Bud Lights.
Was he really fat?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I got fat from.
It's very honest of you.
Yeah, I got fat from all the Bud Lights, and then I had a 65 average, so I couldn't go anywhere. So I was like, I have to go to junior college. So long story short, I spent a very long time trying to make myself a Division I football player, because I was like, okay, I'll go JUCO. Everyone, I used to be this popular kid. I feel like my expectation is to do something worthwhile in my life. So I traveled across the country, came here, went JUCO, got my ass kicked by freaking huge Polynesians for 3 years, because they don't have those in New York. And then long story short, I finally got a Division I scholarship to Missouri State. I go there. We're playing Oklahoma State on Fox Sports 1, first game of the year. My name, I'm going to get a sack against, who was their court? Doesn't matter. Anyway, long story short, I'm taking you on a journey. Long story short, as soon as I got there, I got injured. Drop out of college, I'm back in the same bed that I was in when I was in high school, and I'm a loser. I spent 6-7 years grinding football, trying to become, I don't know, at least even if I got a practice squad thing, I'll have that with me for life. I could have that on my real estate card when I hand it to you. I was in the NFL, whatever. Long story short, one day I got a panic attack, and then for 6 months I had panic attacks. And my entire life I thought that was fake, So the only way I was able to overcome that was God brought a tremendous amount of tools and people and podcasts and books and resources. How at 12 years old were you able to overcome those suicidal thoughts? What was it?
I think it was, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think it was my relationship with my mother, because we were just in this situation of torment and chaos every day together. And there was, I'm talking about, I was born in 1987. I remember before the internet, there were no books. There was no Power
of Now, no The Alchemist.
There was no, which is a wonderful book. No, there just wasn't even a conversation about mental health. You didn't get to say depressed or suicidal. I didn't even know what it even really meant. I just knew I just didn't have any desire to be here anymore. Yeah. And then I just worked through that myself. But then when I thought about what it would mean if I wasn't here, then it would mean my mother didn't have me there with her. And even though I'm not the oldest, I'm sort of the oldest of I call it the second litter. I have an older brother and sister who are 12 and 14 years older, and then a younger sister who's 1 year younger, and my brother's a year younger than her. So it was sort of us three together. So I think it was just me not wanting to abandon her or make the situation worse.
Yeah.
And then once I got over that, those thoughts or that lack of desire to be here, it was more about just putting myself into survival mode. So it was okay, I'll get to 18, then I can leave, and I just will be able to find a way to make money so I can get out of here. And I didn't have the vision of college or this or, any of that, because it just wasn't something that I had seen. Yeah. So, I would say it was my relationship with my mother.
Wow. It's beautiful.
And now, you said therapy was never a thing. Did you seek therapy later on in your life? And if you did, what did that do for you?
So my first experience with therapy was court-mandated therapy, which is not pleasant if you've had to participate in that.
That's crazy.
That was after my parents split, and the whole custody thing and all of that. But it was not an enjoyable first experience. And then I had therapists throughout my adult life for various reasons, whether abusive relationships or, just trying to sort through bigger life events. But it wasn't really until right before COVID, I found a really great therapist that I had connected with. And I think when people start to get into therapy, finding the right therapist is very important. It's not just like, just go to therapy and figure it out. Like, you have to find someone that you feel comfortable with. You have to find someone who can truly speak to your experiences. When you're talking to them, I've had every kind of different therapist, and sometimes I'm talking to them and you can't relate to what I'm going through. You just can't. And it's not that you need to relate, but you do have to be able to give me some sort of direction. And I needed to find a therapist that was in that space. And I also dedicated myself to it. So consistency was very important. I knew what my problem was. I didn't have any boundaries. When you grow up in an abusive space or you're formed in abuse, you don't have the knowledge of saying no and it being honored. And as a child, it seems kind of silly. Like, you're always giving your kids directions, right? Like, don't touch the stove, don't go there, get home before this time. But there are choices you have to give them as well. What they want to wear, how they want to address their friends, like what sport they want to play. You have to give. It's healthy to give people choices, and then to honor those choices as well. And that's just not an option. So I didn't have a concept of how to enforce boundaries in personal relationships. At work, with strangers, cool. But in a personal relationship, I didn't have those tools. So that was something that I really wanted to work on. And I went every week for over a year. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I feel completely different as a human, just in my ability to function, since I dedicated myself to that. And I think with therapy now, and we still have a long way to go when it comes to the mental health conversation, but therapy, when I was at that age or in that space, it was like, if you went to therapy, there was something wrong with you.
Of course.
Like, it wasn't a cute thing to be like, oh, like, I love my therapist. Everyone would be like, cool, like, keep that to yourself. Like,
right.
We don't know, like, she's crazy. Like, be careful. And now it's almost like I'm like almost the opposite of it. Like, you don't have a therapist, or like, you don't.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Right.
It's a little. How old are you? Okay. So it's still a conversation that's developing. But what I like to say to people who have hesitation about it or feel a certain type of way about it or are resistant to it is, if you broke, what did you injure?
Back.
Back. Okay. So that sucks. Like, it's really hard to make it through life with a bad back. It's the worst. If your back was constantly hurting and it was inhibiting your quality of life, you couldn't get certain jobs because of it, you couldn't participate in activities with your friends because of it, you couldn't have healthy personal relationships because you can't do anything fun with your girlfriend because of it. It's just inhibiting everything in your life. And then you went to a friend and was like, hey, like, I think I got to go see a back specialist. I think it's time. Yeah. And your friend's like, ew, dude, like, that's so weak. Like, push through,
You're
man.
Soft, bro.
That's so soft. Like, how embarrassing. Like,
that's what they do in football.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna keep it between us. But like, you're not playing football.
Right,
like,
right. You're just a regular person.
Yeah, you're just a regular person. Like, I'm gonna keep that between us. I'm not gonna tell anybody that you said that. But like, relax. Yeah. That sounds insane to say. I have a toothache. I can't think. I can't go to work. I can't talk. I can't eat. I'm going to go to a dentist. Yikes. But that's how we treat mental health. Your brain literally tells your entire body how to function, how to do anything, to talk, to sleep, it moves your heart. Like, your brain is so important. It's such an important physical part of your body. Why wouldn't you treat it with the same sensitivities and honor it the same way you would anything else in your body? It's really weird to me when I think about it that way. And I hope that sort of moves the perspective of it, because mental health feels like it's something spooky or something that you could just get over. It's
if you don't know type of thing. That's what's weird about it. Because I didn't know. I didn't know. I grew up, my mother, she had a very weird experience, like neurotic Italian Long Island mom, like, antidepressants in the cabinets, type of thing. And I never understood it. I remember when I said this on the podcast the other day, I remember my friend's mom died and he wanted to go to therapy. And I was like, you're soft, bro. Like, how insensitive, you know, because like now it's not. I would never. I mean, like I'm almost on team. Like put your therapist. You go to your therapist in your Hinge dating profile. You know, it's cool. Like it's a good thing now. But it's very weird because if you don't know, you just don't know.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to have those conversations so openly, because you should see different types of people at participating in that and being less resistant to it and being less shameful about it or, you know, hiding it or even talking about it if it's a negative thing. Like I said, like if you had a toothache, you would go to the dentist. Yeah.
Right.
If your back was killing you, you would go to the chiropractor. Like, and we have no, outside of like obviously sports, like suck it up, whatever, but in our everyday lives, we have no inhibition about doing that. But when it comes to mental health, we act like it is something that you're supposed to just deal with. And it's so much more detrimental to allow those type of things to just linger and go unhealed, because unlike your back, your back hurting and you not fixing it is not going to pass on to your children.
Right.
But your mental health state and that kind of trauma will, and then that will get passed on to their children. And you can just literally generationally traumatize your entire bloodline because you don't want to go talk to a therapist.
Wow.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. And then even what you said with the tooth in the back, where it's like nobody will question you if you go get that checked out, because I was always against it my entire life. Like my mom passed away when I was 12, so they tried to force me to go to therapy, and I'm going to see a guidance counselor every period. They're checking on me, and like to me it was like, I don't want to go talk to a lady that didn't know me, doesn't know my mom, and now you're going to tell me like how I should feel or how I should handle this. So like I just handled it the only way I knew. And that was just being a 12-year-old kid, you know, and just trying to figure it out. But now at 26, I look back and I think me not going or me not dealing with it correctly has affected my life drastically, with relationships with women, with relationships with friends, with all of that. So, I mean, obviously for you to speak on that, I mean, that's a message that our viewers, everyone listening, like should hear, because I think a lot of people downplay it and they think, like you said, most people tell them you're crazy if you go to therapy, and it's like you're only better, you know what I mean? Like you're only bettering your life. You're making your brain stronger. You're making yourself healthier. So I just think that's a perfect thing. Yeah,
and we have a toxic relationship with emotions, and particularly when it comes to, you know, men and women and how men should handle emotions and not cry or not be soft, and women can't be hard and we're supposed to cry. Like there's all these societal barriers to processing emotions that we all probably need to have a more authentic conversation about as well. But the other part of it is too, everybody doesn't process things the same way. Like you can deal with grief in a way that people don't find settling, you know? Like some people pour themselves into working out or you know, some other kind of hobby, or some people become recluse, or some people just want to party. Like you have to allow your process to happen in those situations, and that also leads into how you deal with therapy. Everyone doesn't want to go just brain spill at therapy either. And once you get to a certain point with it, like I don't need to do that anymore. I still have traumas I need to work through, but once I get to a point with my therapist where I'm like, yeah, I don't really have anything to talk about this week. Like maybe let's push it a week. Let me just like live a little more life and see if we, you know, have some more problems. Like you don't have to do it the same way everyone else is doing it. Maybe that wasn't going to work for you talking to someone, but maybe going to like a group session where you were listening to other children who were dealing with the same thing might have opened you up, you know, and you would have maybe felt more comfortable in that situation. So if you're looking to get into that space, it doesn't always have to be you one-on-one with some stranger.
Yeah, I mean, that's our goal with this is, I mean, I have a tremendous amount of belief in what we're going to do, just because we're freaking JUCO guys, you know? Like, we grind our asses off, and I'm not stupid. Like, I know what it we're on paper, we got things going for us, you know. So now I just from everyone that all the books that I've read and anyone that I've ever heard in an interview and all successful people, I've just found out it's really just about consistency, you know, hard work and consistently trying to be your best. You know, like that's huge. Like some people get to this place where they're great, they have their make it moment, and then they stop going hard. And that's not us. And, you know, our goal with this podcast is to interview people that are super successful and interesting and have someone like, we're never going to stare down a lens and be like, here's 5 tips you need for your mental health. Like, it's not us. But and that's why the Journey podcast, just by people sharing their stories, sharing their journeys, and those people being cool. You know, that's the thing, is like sometimes you scroll across something where someone's speaking about mental health, but nobody knows who they are. But if Chad Ochocinco opens up and he's like, man, the entire time I was on the Bengals, like, I was dancing because I was dancing in my mind. You know, I don't know, whatever it is. I'm just saying that's our goal. So it's just really beautiful for you to speak about, to be so open about what happened to you at 12, and then obviously to be so passionate and fired up about it, because on TV you're like all about sports, you know, and nobody really knows this side. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. How are you feeling mentally now?
I feel great. I do. I think this is probably the happiest I've ever been as a person. For many different reasons, not just mentally. Obviously, I'm in a great professional space, and
right.
that helps. And
it definitely helps. Right?
It helps. It helps. It does. It's nice to not worry about certain things, for sure, and then work with great people and love what you do. All of that obviously is not an accident. So, you know, I can take the time to appreciate being in that space as well and have gratitude, which I think is very important as well, especially if you're aspirational people. And that was very hard for me to get to that point also, because I don't know if you guys have a scarcity complex. I'm assuming that you do. Mm-hmm. So there's always this anxiety or fear of like, oh, this could go away and you're not working hard enough, and don't get comfortable because it's da-da-da-da. And that's important to have. It's important to keep that little pet and feed them every once in a while. But it's also important to enjoy your accomplishments as well, because this is all very short, and you worked hard and you dreamed about where you are now at some point. Yeah. You had the aspiration to create this podcast, you had this idea, and now you're here doing it, right? So enjoy the moments as well. And that's an important part of where I am also. And just being grounded and accepting things as they come. I joke that I'm in my like Jim Carrey yes man era. And I'm like probably doing too much, but like, but like I say yes to a lot of things. And because I've been saying yes to things I would normally be like, nah, I'm tired. Like I'm just going to chill and, watch Netflix tonight. But instead I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to go to this event, or I'm going to go to this, birthday dinner that I might have skipped, or I'm going to, I'm going to not work with this person because I'm not sure what really the goal is. Saying yes to things, especially when you're in a good, healthy mental state, can really open things up for you if that's the kind of life that you want to have. Colin loves this story. I'm going to absolutely butcher it, but he tells me about this study that they did about luck at some college. I can't remember what it is. I'm sorry, look it up and then tell me how wrong I am about it. But it's the principle of the story, really, that they did a study. This man did a study about luck. And so he talked to a bunch of people that considered themselves to be lucky, and a bunch of people that consider themselves to be unlucky. And what was the common thread? Like, what did they do in their lives that was similar? And what he found was people that were more outgoing, people that said yes to things, people that were more aspirational, that were more social, that were more comfortable in, big arenas, felt like they were more lucky. And it wasn't really that they are more lucky, but they just put themselves in situations to have opportunities. So luck favors the prepared is something that I say on the show all the time when it comes to sports, because it's true. If you put in practice every day, if you do all the things consistently, in that moment when the lights are big and it's the Super Bowl and you're on the 1 yard line and you make the interception, it's not an accident that interception happened. It's because you practiced that. It's because you prepared for that. It's because you did those stretches every day that were annoying. It's because you ate the right things. It's because you did the rehab and you studied. Like, luck favors the prepared. If you're putting yourself in situations to accept blessings, then they will come to you. It's manifestation. It's all these big words. Right. But it's just how you live your life. And I definitely didn't live that way for a long time. And now I am. So I really feel like I'm in an amazing space, and I'm very grateful to be that way. And it's also just very nice to be able to say no to things that are not working for me. And I have no anxiety about it whatsoever. I do not have a problem being like, get I don't know if it's supposed to curse on here.
You can
get the fuck out of my face. Right. I never know. I should always ask before. Yeah, I'm like, just, you know, anything that's not serving me or anything that's causing me any kind of stress or negativity that's within my control does not exist. It's just not, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, we had that conversation last night. That we do a terrible job of saying no. We're too nice. And we do things that we don't want to do to put other people's feelings ahead of ours when they never once cared about our feelings. So that's, I mean, like, obviously you saying that should be another reminder.
And that's a process, and it's hard. And especially if you come from certain backgrounds, like if you have a big family, that makes it very difficult to do. If you have a very involved family, it's hard to, you know, set boundaries with people. It's really what it is boundaries. If you know, the environment that you're in can really dictate how you respond to those situations. But yeah, boundaries are very, very, very important. They're delicious. Oh, I love boundaries. And it's so freeing to be able to say no and understand that you're not saying no to this person because you hate them or you don't care about them or you don't care about their success or you're not generous. Like, you know, those things aren't true. But what's happening is not serving you in any positive way. And if you can't be your best self, then you're actually not showing up for them either. I hear this conversation a lot with parents because parents get exhausted, obviously. And people, you know, they exhaust themselves in all these different situations. They have a business, so they exhaust themselves. And they want to provide for their family, but they're exhausted. Or they want to raise their kids right, but they're exhausted. They want to achieve all these goals, but they're exhausted. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing because you don't pour into yourself at all. You're the most important thing. You just are. And we're not brought up to think that. We're not told that. It's selfish. I'm very selfish. I'm a very selfish person. Because if I'm not selfish, then I'll just be giving myself away to everyone else, and they're not even getting the best version of me. So yeah, you need to work on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's bad, cuz. I'm going to whip you with a belt tonight.
Yeah.
You've been a bad man.
Right.
No, that... Yeah. We know we're bad at it. Yeah, it's really not good.
I mean, it takes time. It's most people are. I was for a long time also, and it's a guilt. And guilt does not feel good.
Yeah.
I wanna go back into like almost your career also. Like, now we've kind of fast forwarded, we backtracked, and now we're back here. I watched you on a podcast, and you said you never envisioned just being like the mediator or the host. Like, you always wanted your own show, and that's what you have now. And so during that time, who was maybe like some of like the OGs like in the game or that you looked up to that kind of like helped you along this way where now you're the host of your own show?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of help and a lot of advice along the way, and I could talk about a lot of people. I mean, the woman that gave me the vision to do it was Jamel Hill, because she's, I mean, to this day, I believe the only Black woman who's had a daily sports opinion show on the network level. So visibility is very important, not just so that you can aspire to be it because you've seen it, but also when you're talking to executives and you're talking to powerful decision makers, they sometimes do not have the vision that you have. Mm-hmm. And so to convince someone that I'm capable of doing this when they haven't really seen it before, mm-hmm. it can be extremely difficult. But I've had a lot of people help me and put me in positions to have opportunities or give me advice or just, let me observe them and what they do. I mean, obviously I've worked with some of the biggest names in the business on the opinion side, and I've learned a lot really from Skip, from Shannon, from Colin, and really everyone that I've worked with at Fox, Nick Wright. I mean, everyone has really been influential to me, even if they weren't intentional to do so. I think the biggest thing for me whenever I'm around any talents or personality is I like to see what they do that makes them successful. And you mentioned consistency earlier and how important that is for really everything. But consistency is the connecting fiber through really anyone who accomplishes anything great, because it doesn't happen by accident. Everyone thinks that when they first find out about someone, that's the first time that anyone is finding out about them and that they just appeared, when it was 10 years of work for this success that you are now observing. Like, I started my first internship in 2007. It's 2023.
Right.
And like some of you will be hearing me for the first time on this podcast, but have been doing this a really long time. Yeah. It's not new to me. It's new to you. And hello, I'm excited to meet you. But like that's not how successes happen, and certainly not sustained success. So yeah, I mean, Skip was huge for me. Colin, a lot of the guys that I work with in Miami, Dan Lebitard, Zaslow, Hawkman. I mean, Dan Cilio, DJ Laz, Joe Rose.
I mean, so much.
Yeah,
so
like there's so many people that I like have worked with.
You'd have a huge Oscar or like Grammy speech.
Yeah. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna text all of you tomorrow.
Right.
But thank you all for your help. No, I mean, nobody gets anywhere on their own. Yes, you have to put in the work yourself and be talented and be aspirational and be consistent. But I think it's very disingenuous when anyone says like, oh, I did it myself. Like, yeah, you did do it yourself, but so many people have helped put this together for you in whatever small way or big way that they did. So, I mean, we're here today because you have relationships.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see you there. It's your cousin Jake. I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to our favorite sponsor, our first sponsor, and the best sponsor, and more than a sponsor, family. I've drank a lot of water in my life, and this is by far my most favorite water I've ever drank. And your boy's a former Division I athlete, so that says a little something. You can find this online, evermore.com. They got a store locator. It's probably in a store near you. I'm telling you guys, it's absolutely delicious. If you guys tag the Journey Podcast on Instagram, take a picture that you actually got one of these in your supermarket, we'll send you a free case and maybe even a little extra money on top of that. Much love from the Journey Podcast. Keep enjoying the episode. I'm sure it's a banger.
So that helped.
Thanks, Coach Giff.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like it's so yeah, there's so many people, and I'm forgetting 100.
Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, I had a lot of great mentors and just people that saw what I was saying. I've always said that this is what I wanted to do, and I did not ever apologize for that. And that is something, that and not working in silence is something that I very much believe whenever you're trying to accomplish something and come up through an industry. Don't let someone else take credit for what you did. Just don't. Just shout it from the rooftop. I booked that guest. That's the guest that I booked. And when someone else books a good guest, you congratulate them on that. But like you need to be, people need to know what you're doing. Yeah. Don't grind and let people think something happened. That's not efficient at all. And you have to instill in people what you want to do. Like, know what you want to do. Having goals is super important because not only does it help you when you meet someone to tell them, okay, I want to be a film director. That's very different than meeting someone in Hollywood and being like, yeah, I want to work in film. I'm not really sure, what I could like do a bunch of different things. Immediately I'm like, okay. Well, you're still on your journey, and I love that for you. But when you've decided that you know what you want to be successful at, come find me, because you have to get on a path. Otherwise, you're just doing a bunch of things. You're just being average. Yeah. And in order to be great, you really have to have a North Star that you're working towards. And I've just been really blessed to have been on a path with a lot of people that saw or believed me when I said that this is what I wanted to do.
What was it like working with Skip and Shannon?
So I think people forget that I worked on Skip and Shannon because it was so long ago, but we launched Undisputed, and that was just an experience that is really special to me because it's not often that you get to be a part of a network launch, particularly one that's like super well funded and supported and like a big deal. Commercials and photo shoots, and we were at every major sporting event that we had anything to do with at Fox that year. I mean, we did Mayweather and McGregor, did the US Open, the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals. Wow. I'm missing something in there too.
And is this a lot? Because you said before you had like a scarcity complex, but then I also asked you off camera before the podcast, like, were you ever nervous to interview anyone? And you said Ice Cube. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but
I mean, I was definitely nervous.
But were you around that much before going on?
No, not to that level for sure. I mean, I had been in the business for a while and had done the radio show in Miami, and we interviewed LeBron and Wade and Pat Riley and any Dolphins coaches and players, and I had been in that world, but it's very different to do a network show, particularly live at an event. We also did the McGregor fight in New York. That's the one I'm forgetting. Yeah, and that, I was definitely nervous for those shows. Like the first time that you do those shows, even now, it's just because it's a different environment than being in the studio. You get in the studio, it's the same thing every day. You got your coffee, I have my heated blanket. Like, it's the same routine. It's really hard to get nervous. You're doing the same thing. You're talking about something different, but you're prepped on it, so it's the same show. But there's just stuff that happens when you're doing a show outside that you just don't predict. Like the printer isn't working, so you don't have notes, or the winds, and you have all these paperweights on the table. Like, there's all these different things that happen that are very distracting. So even still then, like, I like to give myself some extra time to get settled for that. But yeah, those shows and that launch was really amazing, and it was such a different show. I mean, it was the launch of the show. It was such a big deal. Skip had just left ESPN, which at the time was like unheard of, except for Colin, and then there's, obviously Shannon's entry into the opinion space, because he had done television before, but not that type of show, and then we're competing with First Take, and there was just a lot that was going on with that launch, but it was really, really fun. Like, it was a different lifestyle for sure. I was getting up at 3:20 in the morning every day. So I was in bed, like, under the covers at 9 p.m. No matter what was going on. I was not in my yes era then. Like, there was no going out during the week. Like, you had to keep very, very, very routine, which was something that I learned from Skip, because in order to do that show, and Colin does a lot of this too, but it's not as early, you have to have a routine. Like, you just can't wing that. It's too early in the morning. It's too long of a show. There's too much on the table for you to perform, to be like hungover or distracted, or you don't have your notes in order. Like, there's just too much going on. And Skip is both of them, Skip and Shannon, were just very like routine. Do the same thing every day, park in the same spot, eat the same thing for breakfast, like wear sweatpants, and so you don't have to think about what you're wearing, and then get dressed there. Like, I still practice that now with the show. Like, I do the same things that I can every day to save creative energy for the show. So the Steve Jobs model of doing things. But yeah, that show was a different time. It feels like a fever dream, because it was just so much going on, but it was a great experience.
Yeah. And then with Shannon, you said that was Shannon's first time like broadcasting?
No. He had done, I forget which network. I want to say CBS he was with before.
So he's
But this was like the entry into like a big time opinion long form show for him.
And his show, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How do these guys, like, I always get, I just find it fascinating that there's so much of these former players that enter a totally different thing, and a lot of them dominate. Like, a lot of them crush. But I'm sure there's tons of people that like maybe do a show or two, and then also, I'm sure you've seen it, they don't. I guess what separates people that are able to make it in this industry from people that aren't?
Well, for daily shows, it's really committing to going to work every day. Like, it sounds silly, but you have to go to work every day.
Right.
Like, it's not like optional. You can't take 2 weeks and go to Bali. Like, it's a different lifestyle. You are actually going to work every single day.
Right.
Or it doesn't work. Like,
so there's been guys that would just like,
I think that sometimes people get ideas about like how much of a workload it actually is, and then you start to do it and you're like, oh wow, like I actually have to be here every day. Like, yeah, you do. Like, it's your show. And we do it Monday through Friday. So yes. And I think sometimes people get into it and they're like, yeah, I want more flexibility. Like, I didn't do this, work this hard in the league to have to like then come into work every day. I do want to do media, but I need to find something that's more flexible or season only. So they'll get into play-by-play or, analyst work and things like that. So that fits their lifestyle better. And, it really just depends on what you want to do in the business. I think that the players that are most successful, one, find the space that is comfortable for them. Everyone's not comfortable with being critical of former players, which is a part of doing an opinion show. Like, you can't always be like, yeah, he's great and he's going to be great and everything is good. Like, okay, but we just watched him not be good at all. So like, so like you have to say something that they need to fix at least, and everyone's not comfortable doing that. So finding a space as a former player where you are going to feel comfortable and want to do it is important. And then, so leaning into your strengths, are you a player that was very, you loved meetings and you loved talking about the game plan and that was your thing? Like, probably play-by-play would be great for you. Were you someone who was in the locker room talking shit? Probably opinion would be good for you. Do you want to work every day? No. Okay, well, maybe a podcast is better for you. Right. So finding that space, and that's just really the same for any talent in general, but finding that space and what could be good for you to be consistent is important. And that's where you see some of these former guys just take off in the business because they've found a lane that they like and enjoy, and they just pour all that same energy that they did into playing into media.
Yeah. What is in your opinion, what's the biggest difference between like Fox and ESPN? Because it seems like, I don't know, when I watch FS1, I watch you and Shady and when Skip and Shannon, now Richard Sherman, and it seems like it's more free there. It seems like you guys kind of have more, like ESPN seems so like professional sometimes, where it's like very like to a T, like you see people like they want to say something but they hold back. It seems like you guys, like, you really share your opinion. Why is that?
Well, I think it's a couple reasons. One, we do have different brands. ESPN is Disney. Fox is a little more edgy as a company, as a brand. So that's one. Two, FS1 is way smaller than ESPN. Like ESPN is a huge, massive company with hundreds of people, thousands of people that work there on the talent side. We are more boutique. And FS1 specifically is our daily lineup is all opinion. We don't have like a Sports Center type show. So we're opinion shows, and then we have live television, live sports. So we have, our sports partners, whether it be NASCAR, college basketball, World Cup, football, obviously, college football, or we have our opinion shows. So we're two different models also. So like what you're seeing or feeling is accurate, but it's because it's two different kinds of companies, is the easiest way to say it. And also Fox is just a big talent place. Like, they like big personalities and big opinions, and we've leaned into that as a company and as a brand. So it's, ESPN obviously has massively huge personalities and shows, but it's just the companies are just structured differently.
Yeah. When we asked you why you wanted to get into like a talking career, you said, well, talking about having an opinion about sports career, you said it's because you're from Pittsburgh. And then you said, you guys get it, you're from New York. And there's a bunch of hard-nosed sports towns where there's a ton of females then that would have opinion about sports. But how come there's so few women in a sports opinionist role?
Well, one, there's not that many jobs in it.
Right.
And it's similar to why there are issues with diversity in coaching jobs, is that there has to be a pipeline. So I came up on the radio side because I wanted to talk. And if you've ever done a radio show, it's similar to what we're doing now, except for you have to get, commercials in, but it's long form. And also this would be live. So there's no do-overs, no mistakes. So doing a 4-hour sports talk show is a lot of talking, and you have to have something to say. And so working and creating that muscle for me was very important for getting into the opinion space, because I knew how to talk. I can just sit here and talk and have blah, 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 like always be making sounds. And that put me in a position where any room that I walked into, they're like, oh, like, why can you do this? Well, I hosted a sports talk morning drive show for 3 years.
Right.
For 4 hours.
Right.
So I got it.
Yeah. Like, there you go.
Yes. Like, I did some TV stuff too, but like mostly that's why. And a lot of guys that are in the business started in radio. Obviously, Colin still does a radio show. Yeah. Nick Wright, radio. Skip, radio. Like, there's all of this really lends to the ability to do and carry big opinions. Now, there's obviously different ways you can get into the space, but you have to have something that gives you that practice. And obviously, there is an opinion of a lot of people in decision-making spaces that women do not have opinions about sports that are strong, and women do not have the ability to verbally wrestle with the men that are on the set, which is not true. And there are a lot of women in the business who could absolutely be at that desk and do an amazing job. So I'm hoping that there are more soon, because I don't want to be the only one or one of the only ones. I think that the more women in the business, the less of a thing it is. And that just changes the entire landscape of it. And I will say, like, the business has come a long way since I got in it. As far as visibility and diversity, we still have a long way to go, particularly in that space, because as you mentioned, you don't see much of women in the opinion space. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly still a misogynistic space to break through and to hold your own, or whatever that means, because honestly, everyone is sensitive. Like, it's not everyone.
Right.
Like, I'm like, guys, we're not saving lives here. Like, we're talking about the Cowboys, just please.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're fine. But yeah, I mean, it's still a male dominated space, and unfortunately we need more women in the space. So
I wanted to ask you, kind of different topic, but in this sports world, right? Like, you're known everywhere. Are men like intimidated to speak to you sometimes, whether either they're trying to pursue you dating wise, or even to speak to, just because of how strong of an opinion you may have and how confident you are when you speak? You know what I'm saying? Because you come off and like you may give a different vibe than what athletes or people in this space are used to.
Yeah, I do all right. I'm good.
Good for you.
Yeah, there's enough real ones out there. I've managed to survive. No, I mean, I think sometimes people can think, well, I get a lot like, oh, you don't want to talk sports because you do that for a living,
right? Which
isn't true. Like, it's I love sports, or I wouldn't do this. Right. So right. Of course I want to talk sports, or of course I want to go watch the game, or send me that article so we can talk about it, or whatever. But no, I don't get the intimidated thing too much. I am an intimidating person, but they get over it.
Yeah. Do you think that another random fire here, but like, do you think that obviously now a lot more women are career focused versus family focused, and that's something? Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know about your family life. Do you have a family?
I do have a big family. I do not have any children or a husband, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, yeah. And obviously that's very new, right? Like, I feel like, whatever. You get the point. I'm not going to go butcher it and make myself look stupid. Anyway, so do you think that it's good? Well, I don't know if it's good is the way to put it. I guess, just how do you feel that more women are becoming career focused than family focused?
Well, that's a very societally loaded and historically loaded question, because I don't think it's as simple as like women just want to work now. Like, there was like a war, and then women went into the workplace, and then they wanted us out of the workplace, and then
right.
they
There's so much going on here, right.
And then so there's a lot to it. It's not just like an act. Like, we didn't all get together in like the women's club, like, hey, we're gonna like work a lot more now.
Right.
But I think that as we all move towards equality and what society considers to be a healthy balance of work life, you do see more women in the workplace, and more women who are pursuing careers and passionate careers that they are interested in. And also, the economy. So people have to work. Yeah. Probably more than they would expensive. Like to. Right. As shit is expensive. But no, I think you're seeing more of a balance within the family structure as well. Like, there was this idea that, men go to work and like bring home the money, and then the wife raises the family and takes care of the house. And I can tell you, there are plenty of women who would like that lifestyle to come back. Right. Like, they're not really trying to work. That would be great. Yeah. But again, the economy. So I think it's different for every single person. Like, I don't think there is some cookie cutter structure to what looks like success to people. Some people do want to do something that they're passionate about, and they do want to have a family while they do that, and they want to have balance. And you are a husband, and you also participated in creating these children, so perhaps you participate in raising them. Like, it doesn't have to be you're gone all day at work and you come home grumpy and have your scotch and or put their kids to bed, like it's probably wasn't very healthy if we're being honest. Like if you care about being an empathetic and like well-rounded and grounded person, you want to participate in raising your kids. And maybe there are some, gender structures that were a little swung to one way or the other that we are now just correcting as a society. Like you can be an involved dad, like you can change a diaper.
Right.
You will not die.
Yeah.
Like you'll be okay. Maybe you can take the kid for a walk so your wife can take a shower. Like those type of things that sort of get overblown on the internet that make it seem like, okay, all women are going to work and men are going to be stay-at-home dads now. I don't think it's that simple. But I also am very careful about what people aspire to or want, because I feel like I'm in a completely different space. Like I've been married. I have been engaged.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know what? You're the second. Well, not that like we just met each other, but like someone else that knows me pretty well. Yeah. I was talking to. I mentioned that to them yesterday. They were like, "I didn't know that." I'm like, "Guys, is this on Google?" But okay.
Yeah, right.
It's fine. I prefer not to be not by my previous relationships. Okay, there we go. It's okay.
He's better at research than me.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not that important of a detail. But because I have had certain experiences, I just approach life from a completely different space. I also don't want children. So there's just, I can't be like, yeah, this is what's going to work for you. Because it's probably not going to work for you. If you want a family and kids, you should not listen to what I'm saying. Yeah. It's not going to, take it with a grain of salt, because I probably move differently than you do, being that's how I approach life. And like when you ask if I have a family, like I have a huge family. I have 13 nieces and nephews. I have 6 brothers and sisters. I have a zillion cousins, 50 million aunts and uncles. Like I have a massive, massive family. But I don't want children, and I maybe will get married again, but I don't know. I'm not pressed about it at all. So yeah, I mean, I think to long-winded answer to your question, I do think more women are pursuing passionate careers and wanting to have their own legacy and identity, but I don't think it negates the desire to want to have children or want to have a family of their own and a husband or that kind of life. It's just going to be a more balanced, equal contribution from the parties, and that's probably what it always should have been.
Yeah, that's that. Like, I wanted to ask you, was that a stigma that was put on you when you were coming up in the space? Obviously, your brother is a Hall of Fame NFL legend, one of the best, defensive ends of all time. Was that something for you that you battled, where people were like, oh, she's just getting this opportunity because her brother's Jason Taylor? And obviously you've shifted that doesn't make sense, because you've obviously proved that you have your own show now, you know what I'm saying, on FS1. You've proven that you are more than capable of being who you are. But was that something that you dealt with? And if you did it bother you at all? For sure. I definitely dealt with that a lot, especially when I was coming up, because I had proven myself in the space. But it used to bother me. Now it doesn't, because, everything that you just said, but also, like, that's my brother. And a lot of the perspectives that I have on sports and athletes and the business and the way that I look at stories is because of the experiences that I had. Just like a lot of the athletes look at certain stories from a particular perspective, and a beat reporter might look at it from a different perspective because of the access that they had and the experiences that they have. And that's how everyone operates on earth. Whatever puts you in this space, or whatever journey you've taken to get to the space that you are now, is influenced by your experiences. So for me to say he didn't influence my career, of course he did. And of course he did an amazing job managing his career and his reputation. And when his name is introduced in a room, it's met with respect, as it should.
Right.
So it doesn't bother me at all anymore. And honestly, now, more often than not, people have no idea he's my brother. It's a reveal to them, just like I was, me having been divorced. Like it is a reveal to a lot of people. Anytime that I post a picture with him, there are hundreds of comments about like, wow, I did not know that you guys were related. And he, he's funny about it now. Like he's refers to himself as my brother rather than, me being his sister,
right,
and jokes about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not in any way shy about what my experiences were. And like, there's a lot of entry points into businesses. Whatever gets you in the door is important. What's more important is what you do to stay inside that room that you just walked into. So you can have a billionaire who owns the company get you the job. If you suck, it will be obvious. Now you might keep that job because they got you that job, but you're not going to have success in the terms of anything other than what has been laid before you. Yeah, right. So no, it doesn't bother me.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What so I'm actually interested because, former football player, I forget everything and I'm late to everything, and I don't know if that is CTE. So I don't know, but how is your brother doing?
Oh, he's great. He's in really good health. He was really blessed throughout his career to not have any super major injuries. Mm-hmm. His most serious one was actually, what is it? Compartment syndrome? Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I almost died. It was like really bad. It was when he was in Washington, but it wasn't a massive surgery or anything. He had shoulder surgery and collarbone and plantar fasciitis. Broke his arm. So yeah, I guess he's had some damage, but right. It's like trying to remember all the injuries. But no, but he's in good health. He's coaching at the University of Miami now. So he's
really?
Yeah, he's the defensive line coach for the University of Miami, sick. And they're crushing. The defensive line is. He's recruiting his ass off, and he loves it. He never wanted to coach when he retired, and then my nephews both started playing. And as one does when they know something as extensively as he does with football, and you turn your children over to someone and they tell them one wrong thing, he was like, okay, no. If you're going to play football, I'm going to coach you. So he got into it. And then he just fell in love with it. He coached at St. Thomas Aquinas for years on the defensive side, and they won multiple national championships when the boys were there. And now both of my nephews play. One plays at Arizona for Jed Fish, and the other one is at Isaiah plays at Arizona, and Mason plays at LSU. Wow. So so they're after they graduated, he wanted to keep coaching, and got the opportunity at Miami, which is perfect, obviously, because that's where he lives, and a city he loves dearly. So it's been great. He loves it.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. Purpose.
Yeah. We usually like to wrap up. Our last question is always, what's your purpose? So.
Woo.
And you could take a second. It's so generic,
there.
But yeah.
Purpose. I think what my purpose is to defy traditional ideas. I think that's what my purpose has been. What I hope my purpose is to open doors and reach back and leave the space that I am in better than when I walked into it. So I want to create opportunities for other people. I don't take myself seriously, but I take what I do seriously, because you asked about how many women are in this space and visibility and all those things, and how people look at people who are in our industry when it comes to mental health, or when it comes to relationships with players, or professionalism, or all these different things. I think it's important to be authentic in that space and provide opportunities for other people. So I hope what my purpose is to do that and create a softer entry for other people in a business that I'm very passionate about. I love what I do, and I love that it's opened up to so many different spaces. And I don't know, there are some toxic areas of the business, obviously, like people are on the mic that maybe shouldn't be there, but there is a dichotomy, a polarity with any industry of good and bad, if you will. But the point is, I love that there's more opportunities now for people than there ever have been before. It doesn't have to be at a network. It doesn't have to be on a linear show or radio show, or, you don't have to get a job with a newspaper and bust through these very, giant industry doors. There's so many different spaces that you can create your identity and get your voice out and your message out, or talk about what you want to talk about and share with the world. So I think it's amazing that the industry is there now. I think it's great, especially for young people who are coming into the business. Like, it's free to just be on social media and put your opinions on social media. It's incredible. Yeah. And I know people have gotten jobs just from the work that they've put on social media. So I hope that I've been able to do that. I've tried to do that with the work that I do. I try to do that with the nonprofit work that I do, and really just represent as an authentic person so that people don't feel like they have to be any kind of stereotype or fit into any kind of box. I don't think I'm unique in that it's hard to define me. I think a lot of people are in that space, but being a woman in the space that I'm in and being one of the only women, I feel definitely a responsibility to not conform at all, especially at this point in my career. So I hope that was a good answer.
No, it's great.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think we'll all look back in 10, 15 years, however much longer you do this and are in this space, and people are going to look at you as the one that paved the way for so many other women to get into this industry and have a voice and really have an opinion. So, yeah.
Thank you. I hope so.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having
again.
me.
No, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and
thank
it's
you
crazy
so much.
because we started this officially as co-hosts together 50-50 1 year ago yesterday.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, so it's crazy that we started this in a backyard in his mom's shed to now a year later we're in Los Angeles sitting across from Joy Taylor. So yeah, this was awesome.
So celebrate that. You deserve to celebrate that.
Thank you.
Problem is I'm doing a 30-day carnivore diet because
only meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got that part, but
Trying to go viral, you feel me? So I just did a 7-day fast.
How do you feel?
Well, I'm only on day 2, but
okay.
Yeah.
So I'll check back in day
well,
17.
I did a 7-day fast. I'll show you it a little bit after this. So that was not good.
Yeah, I just try to do everything in moderation so that I don't have to get too.
I'm trying to not do 2007
to
2023. I'm trying to skip a little
trying to
bit.
skip it?
Yeah, I'm trying to skip a little bit. You know.
Well, I'm interested to see how that goes. So you're just eating bacon and stuff?
Just red meat.
Okay. So
I'm getting blood work though, so if it's bad for me, I'll know at the end.
Okay.
Or if I'm here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Anyway, El Camino College.
Yeah, huge shout out. Let me get the shirts.
Yeah, get the shirts.
This is funny.
Get the shirts. So we asked them because I wanted to show love, right? And and we were like, yo, we'll wear the shirts for the episode.
Look at they're dry fits. This one's inside
wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't think.
So we thought this would be hysterical. I guess you walked in oh, Joy.
I gotta be honest.
How you doing?
I don't get. It takes a lot to weird me out. I've been in some pretty wild situations. I do think I'd be like,
Yeah.
Just skin tight dry fits.
Okay, yeah. Do you guys mind if I just stay on IG Live while we're doing this? Let me send my location to a couple people first.
Yeah.
But they're cute.
Yeah. We'll probably wear them to the gym tomorrow.
It's gonna be good.
They're a good undershirt for if you're skiing or something.
Yeah,
I feel like it would hold.
Compressions.
Yeah,
good.
hold some warmth.
But huge shout out to El Camino College.
I mean, this place changed my life. This was the first time living on my own, and everyone being here, and just seeing the culture, Crenshaw Boulevard, Inglewood Avenue, it was. There's a reason I came back here, and I've been trying to get you to move here so much. So. A lot of love. Thank you, El Camino. And thank you, Evermore. And
Thank you, Joy Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.